Welcome. Welcome to my 2 cent. I'm Chris. Let's talk. Last we left was food. We were talking about food and what I was eating and the impacts that it had upon me, inflammation and otherwise. And there's a lot more to that, and we'll kind of circle back to that here and there. But for now, let's move forward to some of the other things I began to implement. Um, one of the other big realizations, the state that I was in. Actually, let's talk about the state that I was in. Pain. Let's talk about that for a minute. Pain. I was in pain. Physical, serious pain each and every day. It was the bulk of my day. It was the majority of my day. It was almost sometimes, not just sometimes, but most of the time, all of my day. Not to mention my nights as well. Sleeping was a very, very difficult thing for me and a mostly painful event. I already spoke to how I would wake up in pain, but I never slept good. It was always tossing and turning. And I was always in pain. That's why I was tossing and turning. For me personally, with my back, it was impossible for me to sleep on my back. To sleep flat on my back in a bed was excruciating, like I cannot describe. And I could only lay there. I would only be able to lay there on my back for a matter of not even minutes, like a minute maybe. So I was a side sleeper for years and years and years, practically. Ever since the beginning of my back pain, my early 20s. Probably in my early 20s, 1920, is when I started sleeping on my side, because it was the only position that I wasn't. I could get comfortable for a while and sleep, but then I would shift to the other side, and that was just pretty much how my sleep went, was a constant shift from left side to right side. And yeah, so I didn't sleep worth a darn, to put it simply. Um, so I was always in this state of pain, and for me, in the very beginning of my journey, to even begin, like, that was my biggest thing I had to overcome in the beginning. I It was difficult for me to focus on anything else, uh, while I was in this chronic state of pain, and it was so draining, just energetically. Uh, I didn't have the energy to embark on anything. I didn't have the willpower to affect change in my life. I was just always in a constant state of completely drained, uh, as a result of it all. Uh, so that for me was one of the biggest hurdles in the beginning that I had to kind of overcome. And overcome's the wrong word, because I didn't overcome it in the beginning. It was a long time, but um, at least get myself uh, to a state to where I sometimes was not in pain. Uh, and then the other part, I suppose, was attempting to change my perspective on how I reacted with the pain, how I uh, presented myself to the world in this state of pain, uh, or how I took it out on the world, and just my mood and my I was a miserable person to be around in those days. I really don't see how anybody did it, and I can completely understand why I was alone. Uh, for the most part, um, because I was just a miserable thing to be around, and I could imagine I sucked the energy out of a room. That's how dark of a hole I was in. Uh, so And most definitely, before I even began to embark on healing anything of my mental state, my past, my uh, in any of those types of issues, and definitely before I, embarked on a spiritual journey, I had to get out of this state of pain. I had to figure this out, right? For as long as I was in this, I was never going to have the energy or wherewithal to pull myself out of this on my own. So the food journey helped with that. As I began to alter how I ate, I that did decrease my pain levels throughout the day. And the other big thing is that I figured out that I needed to, uh, and this is where Jordan Peterson came into play a lot, especially in the very beginning, was just embracing the pain. For that, at that time, was my reality. So, you know, I had to embrace it willingly. I, I had to accept my reality willingly and embrace the state that I was in willingly. Um, and in that willing state, move forward on whatever front that I could, in whatever way that I could. So I knew that my body is obviously falling apart, right? Um, I've been in this, I did landscaping in the very end. The last 3 years leading up to the couch bound state was landscaping, and I sacrificed every bit of myself for that gig. At the time, I called it a career. And yeah, it's just a gig. And I sacrificed everything for it, like in so many ways. Uh, 60, 70 hour work weeks, hard manual labor, back breaking labor with a bad back, uh, you know, just draining in itself. And I gave myself to that and sacrificed myself to that. Um, and that, in the end, I guess physically was the final straw. That was kind of what broke the camel back. What broke my back. It's not what broke it, but you know what I mean. It was a straw that broke the camel's back, right? And it is what got me in the state where I was unable to do anything. Um, for I would often hurt myself through the process of landscaping and put my head down and push through it, And then toward the end, I was missing a lot of work and stuff on a regular basis because of my back, and it was just my time to exit that situation. For I had no other choice. It's not like I could do the job anymore. So whether I exited it, it was going to exit me. I was either going to quit or get fired, one of the two eventually. Um, so, uh, so I knew my body was very broken. I had learned enough in the kind of right out the way that, or I guess I'd come from a background. I'd not always worked out, but I worked out a lot when I was younger, and then I worked out periodically throughout my young adult life. Never anything with any real consistency, but uh, I knew the importance of it to a degree. Um, I did not realize the importance of it that I know now, but I knew enough to realize that my body was weak. You know, I'm laying on a couch doing nothing. All of my muscle is just wasting away. I'm not using anything, and our bodies have this rule: use it or lose it, right? And that is, I mean, that's real stuff, right? If you don't use your mind, well, guess what? Your ability to think and do complex tasks are gonna dwindle. You know, they're gonna slowly go away. You don't exercise your mind. If you don't exercise your body, you know, your muscles are going to atrophy. You're telling your body that you no longer need or use these items, and there's no longer any need to waste resources on these. So the body, I mean, our bodies are in the ultimate business of conserving resources. Uh, so everything shrinks. That's why we have a smaller jaw. That's why we have the wisdom teeth problem. There's so many this is it's not my knowledge. This is pretty well known out there, I believe, or I would hope. But you know, it's why it's why we have problems with our wisdom teeth. Why we have to have them removed. Our jaw is literally smaller than it used to be because we do not chew because of the process of cooking, really, and especially our new modern diets. You know, we don't chew difficult things. We don't Our jaws don't have to work as hard anymore. Um, you know, all of our food is soft. A lot of our food is soft. It's supple. Well, it's a weird word to use for food, but we'll go with it. It's soft. It's chewable. It's not exercise for your mouth, right? And then like we don't eat a lot of beef jerky or stuff like that to get that good. And I'm speaking very generally. I know people eat this stuff, but across the board, in the amount that we need to eat each and every day, we don't, and that's why we don't have the room, literally, in our jaws for our wisdom teeth, and why they get impacted and have to be removed. Um, and as you repeat that cycle over generations, well, we pass that on to our children, that you need smaller jaws out the gate, right? But the cool thing about that is that's reversible. Even today, even now, sitting where you are, you can actually make your jaw grow, like, and it will increase in its space and capability to have room for your teeth. Uh, there's even little exercise thingies that you can chew on, right? And it'll make your jaw. It'll just enhance your jaw. It'll grow your jaw muscles, your structure in your jaw. It will expand your jaw. It will make more room for your teeth. They even reverse, like just not straight teeth. If your teeth are crooked or impacted or on top of each other, they even do a lot of reversal of that through just uh, that jaw exercise or food and diet. In other countries, not here, obviously, we go with braces, which don't work. Because eventually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you take them off and you don't wear your retainer or whatever it is. I've never had them, but from my understanding, once you have them removed, uh, if you don't wear the thingy, the retainer, I guess, maybe in your mouth every night, well, then your teeth will slowly drift back to the original places they were at, because you still don't have enough room for you still don't have enough room in your jaw for them, right? You made no more room. You just mechanically forced them into a straight line. Anyway, I'm not a dentist, so it was really more just a fun jaw fact. But it also goes into really stems really well into what I'm talking about, because that same thing applies to our body, and that same thought process, as we don't chew these hard, difficult, tough foods anymore, right? Well, we don't carry heavy loads anymore every day. Like, and I mean literally in our everyday, Just think, not that long ago. Think, 100 years ago. It's plenty long enough, but if you really want to get it, you can go even, a couple hundred years ago, which is nothing. That's, a drop in a bucket of time. Especially considering, adaptation and all that fun stuff, right? Uh, we don't carry heavy buckets of water every day, several times a day. We don't have to manually cut wood by hand and make it into smaller pieces of wood literally by hand with simple tools. We have these fancy and big heavy machineries, right? We don't have to figure out clever ways to lift massive objects with ropes and our bodies and just our physical strength. We don't have to uh, tend to every household item and wash our clothes and our stuff of that nature with our bare hands anymore over a raking bucket. We don't get out there and have to walk miles to forage for our food anymore. Uh, all of those things and so many more were a daily part of our everyday life, right? For all of our existence, you know. Um, and in this recent modern industrialization, society, we've completely removed that in a blink of an eye. Sorry, that was loud. In the blink of an eye, we removed that, and our bodies are now going through the changes and the issues that are resulting of that lack because we evolved, right? Or adapted all of this time to need that. It's that stress. Stress is a funny thing, right? In the right amount of stress every day, minute, repetitive stress every day, uh, especially of a physical nature, right? We grow. We grow stronger. We improve. We become more than we once were in so many different ways. Um, I think that's life in general, you know. If you look at, or at least a lot of it, just look at plants. If you take a tomato plant, right? Or since we were on the topic of cannabis earlier, if you take a cannabis plant and if you were just to plant a cannabis seed into the ground and let it grow, it would grow just straight up, right? Just long, tall, real straight. It'd have its bud and flower. It'd have its flower on the top, right, and a little bit of flowers on the end, and that would be it, right? But during that growth, if you subject it to certain stressors, and you prune leaves and you prune certain stems and you do certain things along the way, um, then it grows into this massive, massive, beautiful bush with flowers all over. I mean, just flowers all over the place potentially, right? And that would have never happened if it had it not had that specific stress uh, implemented. And it's the same thing with tomato. It's every plant. I just use cannabis because we talked about cannabis anyway earlier. So whatever. Tomatoes, same dang thing, right? If you they don't grow up just straight, but if you don't do anything to a tomato plant, it's going to be a tomato plant. But if you prune it, take away some of the leaves, introduce a few stressors, it will tomatoes galore everywhere, right? It'll so much more tomatoes, so many more tomatoes. You get the point. Our bodies are the same thing, right? Our bodies or developed or created to carry these heavy loads. And in carrying these heavy loads every day, they made us stronger. Um, in, like I said, so many different ways. And we have all but completely removed that. And even getting in the gym is a light substitute for what we really endured every day. Uh, for the most part, for most people. I mean, outside of people that professionally train for whatever every single day of their life, you know what I mean? But anyway, I ain't trying to get into the weeds. I'm just being very generalistic in my in what I'm talking about. Uh, Point being is we do not engage in enough physical activity of a real nature, of a real carrying physical heavy stuff, or doing physically hard things every day, repeatedly, multiple times throughout the day. We don't engage in that anymore, and as a result, our bodies are deteriorating in many, many, many ways, right? So, exercise. Exercise is one of the first things that I knew I needed to address. And getting my body back into the state where it could perform such things, because I'm laid up on a couch. How am I going to exercise? Uh, and really, the exercise came, I don't know, about year two, maybe. You know, my first year was like food and medicine, you know, getting off that, food, um, a few other things. I won't derail my train though. Going trying to hit on them right now. But then like year two was starting to introduce physical activity back into my daily routine. Um, but as, like most people, you know, going to the gym, that can be a very intimidating place, especially even for me who had worked out and you know been in the gym many times before. It was a you know a very intimidating place. My body was you know messed up. I couldn't do nothing. B, there's the whole ego thing. You know, you don't want to be you get in there when you're lifting these tiny weights or whatever. Especially for men, it's a much bigger deal. I guess um, the equivalent would be like you know people that are overweight. I know they express similar accountings of what it feels like to go to the gym, especially in the beginning, especially when they're just getting started. They're very intimidated. Everybody in there, most people in there have been in there for a little while, and they look good, you know, look good, right? And they're doing all this weight and all these things that you can't do, and you feel like everybody's just watching you, like you don't belong, and you don't want to be there. And it's a very uncomfortable place to be, and then to engage in an uncomfortable activity, you know. But but much like being in the state of pain, if you accept that uncomfortability, if you accept that place and that feeling and the time willingly and embrace it, you may have the ability to move through it and past it. And you may say, hey, I don't care if everybody's looking at me or not. I don't care if I look like I don't belong here or not. You know, I can put my headphones on and I'm gonna do something. You know, and it's a start, right? So the other thing you can do is start at home, right? And that's what I did. Not that I didn't. I just didn't feel comfortable trying to move around weight when I can barely move around my own body. So I started at home. So it just didn't make sense for me in the beginning to go to the gym and try to move weight when literally I can't move my body around the house. So I started at home with body weight exercises, and that was probably the first year of my exercising journey. Right, was body weight exercises at home. I got me a little one of them pull-up towers with a dip stand on it, right? And I couldn't do much, but I did what I could. There was a lot of exercises that I could not do, and I had to be very careful about what I did and how I did it. But so long as I went slow and used my body weight and scaled down the exercises to my ability, uh, then I was able to do it. Little by little, and that's just a snowball that continues to grow so long as you stay consistent with it. That led to improvement and growth, and that led to more improvement and growth, which led to more improvement and growth, and it's a continual cycle. Um, of that, so long as you continue to participate it all along into your life, it'll be what a life. If you have a desire to age well and age old and be functional, well, it is probably one of the singularly one of the most important things you could do and stay actively engaged in throughout your entire life is physical exercise. Um, so little by little, I was able to do more, and little by little, I grew stronger, and little by little, it helped lift me out of always being in a state of pain. Uh, now, also, simultaneously, while I was uh, now also, the same time as I'm doing this, there's also another side. I'm educating myself, right? I've decided to forget everything that I knew. All right, I'm pretending like not pretending. I don't know anything. It's been proven to me. I know nothing and need to relearn everything that I thought I knew. So I need to educate myself. And same thing with food. When I started, especially in the very beginning, when I started to embark on the food journey, that is pretty much all I was consuming was food related content, food documentaries, food research, food this, food that, just everywhere, soaking it all in, right? And so I did the same thing, took the same approach with exercise, and one of the Athlean X was one of the major channels that helped me accomplish that in the beginning and taught me a lot, taught me a whole lot. So shout out there, and thank you. um, but it made a big difference because it was a good channel for where he was teaching me, you know, teaching these items. He was explaining them and the whys and the just all the little intricate, not intricate, but all the stuff that mattered, right? For you to actually learn the information on your own. Um, and I guess that's how I approach my, when I train or teach something, right? And I guess that's the feeling I got from him was if you're trying to learn something from me, I don't want to just take healing, for example, since we're talking about it, right? And that's what I'm attempting to do here is to guide you in your healing journey, right? Uh, I don't want to just give you enough information to keep you moving through the process, right? I don't want to be the source of all of the, uh, when you need help, you come to me and I'm there and I, you know, guide you, do these things with you, whatever, and you accomplish what you need to accomplish, right? I don't want to. That's not right in my mind, right? I want to teach you the skills. I want to show and explain to you the tools. I want to give you all the equipment that you need to perform these things, to learn and perform these acts on your for yourself. Uh, eventually to the point to where you no longer need me, right? And that's always been my idea of how you measure success in that in those fields, and this applies to many different things in life. But um, once you no longer need me, I have succeeded. Right? You get to the state where something happens, or you're going through something, or you want to learn. You already know. You have all the tools. You no longer need me. That's a beautiful place, in my opinion. Uh, a really beautiful place. And uh, I guess that's how he spoke to me in that way, through this channel. Was, he taught me the tools and gave me the tools and the information that I needed to, you know, uh, start physically putting myself back together. Especially on down the road when I was really starting to experience the benefits of all of this hard work. That was kind of my first foray into trying to help people, or trying to help people heal. Was I wanted to teach people what I learned through physical exercise, right? And I went and got my certificate to be a personal trainer. Uh, and I think that's how, like, much I threw myself into it, like all of myself into that for a few years there, and then COVID happened, and then like I think I got my certificate, and maybe a couple months later COVID happened, and I was just starting to try to get people to train, and COVID happened, and I was just it became more complicated than I wished it to be, and I guess it really wasn't my path. So I put it down, but I didn't put down the working out, right? I kept working out. But physical exercise started at home until I felt like I was ready to be in the gym. And then I got a gym membership, and I poured myself into the gym and putting myself back together. And uh, another important thing during this time, during these, especially the first 3 to 4 years, I put my my physical recovery, my rebuilding myself, and my preventative maintenance, or just everything that I did for that was priority, like above and beyond anything else, including you know working. Which, because I mean, eventually I got to the point where I was able to start doing stuff, and I would do small odd and end jobs, a little at a time, as I could, when I could, slowly build myself back up into trying to get back into the workforce, working environment. I gotta work for money, right? I need to come back to that point here in a minute. But lost my train. Oh, I got it now. So I always made that was the priority, above and beyond anything else. Going to the gym, at least 3 times a week. In the beginning for me, I don't go that often anymore. learned a little bit more since then, at least as far as my personal body is concerned. But going to the gym at least 3 times a week back then, and the other things that I was doing, or the other thing I started doing was getting a full body massage. Uh, I started out twice a month, and then went to once a month eventually. But anyway, getting a full body massage regularly uh, was a big deal as well. Um, and then the other thing I discovered that was a major thing and deserves its own category and another segment is the sauna. Sauna was something else I discovered and started to implement very religiously. I became, I love it. I love it. I love it. That's all I'll say about it for right now. But anyway, all of those types of things, everything that was aimed in the direction of putting myself back together became my priority above everything else. So I guess you could say that I became my priority for 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 a short while, at least for a few years. uh, maybe at least for the years where I was really going through the bulk of the healing, uh, and then I kind of slackened up on that, right? Uh, I put other things before that, before my healing, before uh, maintenance, before myself. Uh, Maybe that's a lesson I'm teaching myself right now, that I need to pick that back up, because I have put it down here recently, especially. Went through a real hard uh, loss of sorts um, back in July, and it knocked me off my horse, and I quit working out, uh, quit going and sauning. Uh, I quit taking care of myself in all the many ways that I was doing for such a very, very long time. And here recently, I have started to dip back into pain more. I currently sit here uh, in a state of pain, unfortunately, to admit that, right? But that's the truth. Uh, I, I have what's called, I call them episodes because I know no other thing to call them, inflammatory episodes, I suppose. But basically when my back and everything just gets really angry at me and sends me right back to where I used to be. And sometimes it's bad enough, and sometimes it has been bad enough to put me on a couch for a week, few days. Now that used to happen, uh, like with any journey, I guess you could. It used to happen a lot more often in the beginning, right? And then as I've moved through this journey, the stretches where I stay uh, good and okay and out of pain, got much longer, right? And then the episodes of inflammation would be less frequent. And then when they would hit, they would be less time, like long time ago. an episode maybe would last 2 or 3 weeks, right? And then that turned into maybe a week, and then that turned into maybe a couple days, a few days, right? This one's we're counting on 3 or 4 days now. uh, and it's just now starting to hopefully let up a little bit. Uh, but I guess I allowed life and things to get in the way. And that's kind of what we all do. This is something that requires constant vigilance throughout the remaining of your days, right? Um, you always have to be aiming for it. And once again, perfection is not the aim, it's just consistency, right? So I fell off the bus and taking care of myself in all the ways that I should be. Now I didn't fall off the bus in everything, right? I'm still doing everything else like I should be in, like I learned to do, and um, you know, and everything else is no longer an issue, uh, other than the physical pain, right? Uh, but I did stop exercising, right? I did stop going to the sauna. I put those things down because life got too busy in the moment. Life got too hard in the moment. Life got too stressful in the moment, and I couldn't. I didn't have the energy to put toward that. And sometimes that happens in life, right? Even once you learn what you need to learn, and you grow how you need to grow, and you've healed what you need to heal, and you're doing good and you're doing great, sometimes life comes back and smacks you again. And no matter how well you have taught yourself to handle situations, sometimes they just hit you really hard in a way that you ain't been hit before. And that was real specifically this one. This was a new type of, of hurt, of pain, of the emotional nature, right? Uh, This was a new one for me, which was saying a lot because I've been through a lot of different kind of stuff, right? So for me to experience something new at the age of 43, it knocked me for a loop. It really did. Uh, and I paid for it. You know, I paid for it as I sit here now, regress back into a state of pain which I normally wouldn't be in. Now I have all the grace I need to handle it in the way that I'm handling it before you, right? I'm smiling, I'm happy, I'm good, I'm strong. Pain or not, it ain't stopping me and it ain't getting me down. It ain't consuming me like it did before. It's just a visitor for right now, and it's about to overstay its welcome, and I'm gonna, shoo it on out the door, right? And I'm gonna attend to my house, my vessel, accordingly once more, properly once more, with the intention and the love and dedication and respect that it deserves, for it is our temple, right? Uh, you never stop learning, ever. That's the beauty of it. if you do life the right way. I think that's a good place to stop. Didn't get into nowhere near what I thought I was going to get into tonight, but I think we ended up in an important spot. I know I learned something tonight, and I've come to a realization for myself. So if it did it for me, maybe one of y'all got it too. So I bid you good evening. Hope this finds you well. Hope you found it helpful. And I look forward to the next one. Until then.